Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Tell It to Trevor. Today on my podcast, I have.
I'm all natural Ashley. Or Ashley America.
Alright, what sparked your interest in the professional wrestling industry?
My friends in high school got me into it. They had a backyard wrestling show, and I thought it was fun to go watch them. And then I went to watch, I think it was probably SmackDown one night, and I was instantly won over. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. So, yeah, that's how it started.
Who were the wrestlers you idolized growing up?
Well, I didn't start watching wrestling until high school, but I guess that's like growing up.
Yeah.
So, um, well, I really liked DX and the Spirit Squad. That was the first match that I ever saw, and I liked Jeff Hardy and Edge. Uh, the first T-shirt I bought was a Carlito T-shirt. I liked his hair.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did you get started in the wrestling world?
In actually wrestling, well, I
Yeah.
graduated from college. I got a degree in art education, and I was looking for a job, and uh, couldn't really find one as easily as I thought I should have been able to, and just kind of like looking for something to do, and I started working behind the scenes in entertainment and stuff, and actually got to work like backstage for WWE, and then like I went to this local bar and there was a girl who was like, well, I had like looked into training before that, but and
Yeah.
I went and checked out of school, but it felt kind of like sketchy when I went, and like it probably was. It all is, but um I went to this local like hipster dive bar, and this girl said she was starting to train, and I was like, okay, like so there's somewhere like close enough that I can drive to do this. And I had also gone to a Chikara show and met like Drew Gulak, and he was like, "Oh," because I told him about like the backyard wrestling that I did. He was like, "Oh, you should actually train." And I was like, "Well, I can't really like drive back and forth to Philadelphia," which I wound up doing a lot after that anyway. But and also training with Drew a couple of times after
Yeah.
that as well. So it's kind of funny.
What was your first wrestling match like?
It was terrible. The girl, it was in like a local fire hall in the town that I live in now, and the girl that I was supposed to wrestle, like first of all, I had to beg for the match because um they didn't think that women could wrestle, and I noticed that I was the only one who wasn't getting an opportunity, and so I begged for the match, and they brought in this girl, and she was pretty mean, and she didn't want to like talk about anything, and then she like like she tried to beat me up, but she didn't do a really good job about it, and the only reason I know is because she bragged about it on social media afterwards. Like we were friends on Facebook, and then she bragged about it, but
Um,
yeah, it was disgraceful.
what are your goals in the future of the wrestling business?
um I mean, that's kind of like a hard one to answer, but I mean, obviously, I would like to be in the WWE, but everyone wants that, so
Well, now it makes it easier with the WWE ID program, I will say.
maybe.
Because I was watching the Evolve last night, just because I have two friends that were on Evolve and everything going against each other. Sean Legacy and Jackson Drake.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
I think I've heard the name Jackson Drake.
the Carolina Reaper.
That sounds really familiar.
Can you share I mean, can you describe a wrestling persona or character for someone that's not seen you wrestle, or for the fans around the world?
Well, that's a tough one to answer. Well, I'll just go with the one on title match. I really like William Regal. He's my favorite wrestler, and so I've done many, many different characters, and I currently have been doing a different one every time that I've wrestled in
Okay.
comedy form. I'll just say that there. That's enough. That's
Can you share a memorable moment from your wrestling career so far?
a memorable moment. Um, huh. I don't know. I mean, like what kind of memorable moment? Like a funny one or like a
Um,
traumatic one?
one that have I would say that stuck out to you the most. Like, there's people, like I always tell them, like wrestlers that they have wrestled against like big stars or a dream
Mhm.
style match or
Um, no. I mean, I have like I came up with a lot of people who are signed and on television and very well accomplished now when I started, but I don't know. I'll just move on from that one.
can you describe the feeling of winning your first championship?
Well, I really haven't actually won a championship yet.
Oh, um, how do you handle the mental and emotional aspects of wrestling?
I mean, that's tough. It's a hard world. Probably not well.
All right, so we're gonna start this segment called Trev Shock. It's like when you're in a business meeting, you have those rapid fire questions.
Hmm.
So mine is, you got 50 seconds to answer your 6 questions.
Okay.
Um, you ready to do that, or
Yeah.
okay? I'll start the timer after the first question, and then I'll stop the timer at the end.
Sounds good.
Um, favorite pre-show snack?
I like don't eat on show day until after. Usually I starve myself all day. I don't know why I do that, but
Pre-show song, like a song that you go to.
a song?
Yeah.
No. Probably like my own entrance music when I'm a normal wrestler, which would be Top Notch by Manchester Orchestra.
Okay. Favorite wrestler growing up?
Uh, Edge.
Edge.
So
Favorite favorite sports team?
I actually don't really like watch sports.
Favorite color?
I'll say all of them. My favorite color is yellow.
Favorite type of music?
Indie rock.
Okay. So you beat it with 10 seconds remaining.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I did well. I did well for myself there.
Um, what are the biggest challenges of being a professional wrestler outside of the ring?
Well, I mean, probably financially, it's very demanding, especially if you're serious about it, because unless you're lucky enough to live close to a good school, like I've spent so much time and money driving just to training, which like I love training. I wish I could just like walk there, but
Yeah. Um, how do you feel about the wrestling business side? And then I'll ask the second part of the question after.
Well, the wrestling that I do, I don't really like, I would call it more of a hobby than a business because I don't think anyone is really like
Yeah,
making money. Like maybe you're breaking even, but like it's like a passion project. So
yeah.
to me, like I'm just paying. I'm mostly paying to do it.
And then, how do you feel about promotions? How they shape the storylines?
I think that since WWE has been more involved
Mm,
with the indies, it's gotten better in the last couple of years. There's some that do more than others, but the ones that I've been on, well, the other thing is like it's tougher with women's wrestling because there's usually just one women's match on a show.
yeah.
So it's pretty neglected and it could use a lot of improvement, and I don't think there's any reason that it can't be split 50-50 at this point. Like there's a lot more women in wrestling. So when I first started there were like maybe 10 women in the Northeast.
Okay.
So it's come a long way.
Yes. If you could wrestle any legend wrestler from the past, who would it be and why?
Any legend wrestler?
Yeah.
William Regal, my favorite wrestler.
Okay. And why?
Because he's my favorite wrestler and I love his style, and when he wrestles someone you get to learn from them, so
Okay. If you could attend a wrestling seminar session with any wrestler, who would you pick?
I'm gonna say William Regal. Again.
Um,
He's gonna file
probably
a restraining order against me.
probably know the answer to this last one, but if you could have a wrestling legend as your mentor, who would you choose?
Probably like William Regal.
Yeah.
Is that who you
Um,
thought?
yep, that was my answer. I was gonna say you were gonna say.
Yeah, good job.
What's your opinion on the wrestling crossover events with other sports or entertainment industries?
Um, I wasn't aware that that was happening because I don't watch sports, but I think it's great that people like sports.
I was it's like how WWE brings in the actors, the
Oh,
music
actors.
artists, the
Uh,
athletes. Yeah,
sorry. For some reason, I thought you meant that there were wrestlers going to sporting events.
I mean
I think
Rollins does that.
I mean, that's been happening since what the first WrestleMania with
Yeah,
the yeah. So it's obviously a really cool and important opportunity, and um, I mean, I would love to be an actor too. So in ways we all are. Some of us are a little dramatic than others.
yeah. What's your? I mean, what advice would you give to an aspiring wrestler?
I always tell people to really do your research and choose a good school to start at and be really careful because there's a lot of shady, sketchy people out there.
Can you talk about a significant feud you had and how it helped you grow as a wrestler?
A feud.
Yes.
Um, I don't really like, I've never really had a storyline feud on a show, but when I was getting started, I wrestled Jordan Grace and Deonna Purrazzo a lot, and I think we all really kind of like helped each other grow.
Um, what was it like working with a particular wrestler that you really clicked with in the ring?
Um, I mean, it's really good when that happens. It's kind of rare, so especially for girls because there's less of us and like we don't get to train together and stuff like that. So it's nice when it happens because you know you're not gonna like wind up in a coma.
Can you describe your training process and what was the most challenging part of learning to wrestle?
Well, the whole thing was challenging for me because I was always an artist and never much of an athlete. Like, I hated gym class. I could barely walk without tripping over my own feet. So, um, I like didn't really know how to use my body. So it took me a long time to figure that
Yeah.
out.
What hobbies bring you joy outside of the wrestling world?
Well, I have a lot of hobbies. I like hiking. I'm a painter. I like music. I work in the film industry. I like, if you check out my Instagram page and my Twitter, I have been making my own short films, which is cool because I've spent over a decade working behind the scenes. So I've always been helping other people make their art instead of making my own. So that's nice. I like kayaking. Now I actually do like the gym. It took me like 2 years of just captive entrapment, but I like rock climbing. I haven't really done that in a while though. Cooking. I don't know. I just like to like learn how to do stuff. I'm going to gymnastics lessons now. So it's
Okay.
fun. Oh, and acting, I guess.
What is your favorite gear that you have ever had made?
My favorite gear. I guess the light blue set with the purple stripe, the kind of
Oh,
Cinderella looking one.
and then where can they find you on social media?
I am on Twitter and Instagram. There's a Facebook page that I don't really touch much anymore, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
All right, and then thank you, Ashley, for being on the podcast today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And then,
Uh,
guys, shout outs to the sponsors of Apple City Championship Wrestling, TBD Wrestling, Wrestling Evolution.
Raise the roof.
Their Apple City one is, I always have to think about what it is because I can think about what the letters are that it makes it because it's ACCW, but
Where's that?
always I can never think about all the words until I put myself on that spot of, okay, what's my sponsors?
It's good to know that.
Yeah,
I know wrestling promotion names I can never remember, especially when they're all just 3-letter
yeah.
acronyms. But
And then, guys, we have a t-shirt contest going on. If you go to the link tree on all the platforms, there's one for the wrestlers where you guys just fill out the information on there. Same thing with fans. You pick which design you want, what shirt size, and then um, your name, and then your Instagram.
cool.
All right, and then thank you again, Ashley, for being on the podcast
Yeah.
today.
Thanks for having me. Where can this be seen after?
It will be seen on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music.
Wow.
Yes, a bunch of others I can never think about because they're not. Oh, and SoundCloud.
Wow. Good job.
Yep. All right, guys, and we'll see you next time.